Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Wednesday, November the 29th? Yes. And this is Cassandra Williamson with the Transgender and Diverse Veterans of America Action Group side primarily. A lot of stuff of what we do is from over on the activism and you get in your face kind of stuff because, we're trying to break down barriers and get into doors. And that's just what we're trying to do. So wherever you might be watching us from, we're going live. We are live right now on Facebook, on two different channels on Facebook. We're over on LinkedIn and YouTube, and there's two channels on YouTube. There's also on Twitch and Twitter, and also on the website. So if you're watching, I appreciate it. I don't always get the count with a little eyeball thing over in the corner up there on the screen to let me know who's over there, because it doesn't show up from, let me see, I think it's, LinkedIn and the website. So LinkedIn and the website, if you're watching from over there, thank you very much. You can always put a comment over in the comment block. Hopefully I can see everything that you're doing and saying, and I'll try to respond to any of the comments as long as they're respectful and, not anti-Semitic. Let's put it that way. No kind of bigotry or hatred, So anyway, I do have a disclaimer I need to run through up here really quickly with a banner I have. And right now, this is the Cassandra Williamson Show. And as I said before, it's part of the Transgender Diverse Veterans of America Action Group, Inc. The website is www.tdva-ag.com. And there's my email address. You can, and phone number. You can do that. But also, you need to know that any of the opinions expressed here are solely my own. They do not necessarily represent those of any particular organization, agency, department, government, talking head, anything. They're just mine. So welcome to the show, folks. Let's do this. First thing I want to do is just going to jump right straight into the stuff that we need to be talking about over on Project 2025. And what I want to try to do is go through a couple of chapters a day, just really quickly highlighting some things that are in there from each of those chapters. But first, let's go with presenting my screen, share screen. I'm going to share screen and go over to there. Okay. So as you know, this is where I'm getting this information from, Project 2025, the Presidential Transition Project, which is a product of the Heritage Foundation. And it was initiated and led by Dr. Kevin Roberts, who happens to be the president of Heritage Foundation. And the editors and the senior editors for this thing, Paul, Dan, Steve Groves, of the Heritage Foundation as well. So I want to give acknowledgement for that. This book was actually published in 2023 of this year. And don't go buy the book. I think it's out of stock right now anyway. It's sold out. I don't know how many they had made up, but I guess they're going to make another run of it. They'll have edition 2, later on. But anyway, it's $35 for that thing. I'm not paying $35 to them. They've got $22 million set aside for this crap to attack any minority, anyone who is different from them. Jeez, they just want to eliminate them from the whole of government as if we don't exist. Don't believe it? Hey, read the darn thing. Read it. Go check it out. I mean, they're deadly serious, folks. And I choose those words very carefully. They're deadly serious. So we definitely have something to talk about. So anyway, in the first part of this, and that's where you can find it is, I'm sorry. Let me get a drink. Hold on. Ugh. So in the very first part of this is from project2025.org, the website, for their website. And you can go check it out. Go check it out. See what's over here on this side. Here's the front page. Building now for a conservative victory through policy, personnel, and training. Okay, there we go, folks. That's what they want to do. And by the way, this is 920 pages of drivel, but it's one of the most systematically organized and strategically planned and thought out and tactically realistic thing structurally that they've done. They tried this back in 1980 with President Reagan. And in 1981, when he swore him in and said, "So help me God," on January the 20th of 1981, they handed a mandate for leadership over to the president then, but they didn't have any kind of structure like this thing's got. Project 2025, this is one of the most detailed things. We can learn a lot from just the organization of this, okay? The contents, it's another thing, but the structure of this, it's beautifully designed. It's well thought out. Give them credit for that. Absolutely. They did a really good job with that. Okay. So anyway, so let's just jump right in over to the foreword. The foreword is written by Dr. Kevin Roberts. And this is, like I said, to Project 2025. And, you can actually, if you download these things by chapter, you can actually download them. That's what I did. I download them by chapter. And you can go searching in here for words. Just type in a word that you want to find out if it's mentioned at all in the particular section. So you type in gender. Let's see. And it's mentioned 10 times. Up here in the corner, it says it's mentioned 10 times in the foreword. So here's on page 1. And this says, looking at America under the ruling and cultural elite, inflation is ravaging family budgets, overdose deaths continue to escalate, and children suffer the toxic normalization of transgenderism with drag queens and pornography invading their school libraries. Oh my. Let's go highlight that really quickly. Make it yellow. Okay, so I'm taking this thing, I'm making some corrections for them with this, okay? Now, these are downloaded onto my desktop. So I want to make some corrections. And this is there's 17 pages actually in this forward section, I guess. This is page 1. All right, so this is how I'm going to turn it around. Looking at America under the ruling and cultural elite today, inflation is ravaging family budgets, drug overdose deaths continue to escalate, and children suffer the toxic normalization of conservatism with Christian nationalism and fascism invading our school libraries and the hearts and minds of our kids and our country. It's the toxic normalization of conservatism. They got it wrong. And besides, transgenderism is, we're not an ideology. No freaking way are we an ideology. My gosh, conservatism is an ideology. Republicanism is an ideology. Socialism, communism, those are all ideologies. Fascism, those are ideologies. You choose to believe those things. But being transgender was never a choice. We've got a lot of people in the transgender community who happen to be conservatives or Republicans or liberals and independents, and you name it. We cover the whole gamut of ideologies within this population, just like we do in the whole of the American population. We're very representative of the same things within our nation, okay? So transgender people do have ideologies, but being transgender is not one of them. Why did I have to even say that, right? Right. And then right here's one I really particularly like. Let me go right here. Let's see. Contemporary elites have even repurposed the worst ingredients of 1970s radical chic to build the totalitarian cult known today as the Great Awakening. First thing I do, they didn't acknowledge this in here, and I hold them account for that one. But radical chic was a term that was first coined by Tom Wolfe back in 1970 in a paper that he wrote. Talking about the 70s and people in the 70s. It was an interesting article. I've read it. Anyway, but let's change this one. Let's change this. First thing, let me highlight it. I'm going to make it yellow. And then we're going to change this to contemporary elites have even repurposed the worst ingredients of the 1930s fascist chic to build the totalitarian cult known today as the Heritage Foundation. There we go. Fixed it for them. I'm sure they would disagree. Anyway, so here's the next thing that I pointed out down here. I've mentioned this many, many, many times. And it goes, the next conservative president must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. Wow. We'll change that one to say the next president must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for conservatism and the Heritage Foundation. This starts with, and here's what they say. This is what they say. This starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation, gender identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And let's go on down the page a little bit. It scrolls slowly. Okay, so it's on down here. I'll go scroll like this. DE&I, diversity or gender, gender equality, equity, awareness, sensitivity, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights, and then the catch-all phrase, and any other term used. I'm going to increase the size of this just a little bit. Hold on a second. I need to get it a little bit bigger, like that. And then they go right here. This is the part that actually is baffling to me. And any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights. Aren't we Americans too, folks? Come on. Aren't we Americans? Don't we deserve the same kind of things as anyone else? And we're not asking for anything more or less. We just want the same. Anyway. Yeah, but they actually, this is the foundation on which they make another statement down here in just a minute. And they want to do this, though. They didn't put a period or a comma right there. And they say, out of every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, regulation, piece of legislation that exists. This is the most militant thing that I've seen from anybody on the conservative side in a long time, unless they're just far right over their fascist stupidity coming from the other side. Okay. And that it is. If it's Christian nationalism, it's fascist stupidity. It's theocratic fascism. Like Matt Walsh, defines himself as being a theocratic fascist on his Twitter profile, believe it or not. So, yeah, I mean, these people are Christian nationalists. They're theocratic, authoritarian Christian nationalist, fascist, period. That's what this is. If you don't believe it, go find a checklist for what it means to be fascist. Just go down the list. Lawrence Brett wrote something about that back in 2003, 2004, somewhere right in that period of time. And there's 14 checklists that you can check off and just see if you fit these things, if your beliefs fit these things, if your country is falling into these things. And believe me, the stuff that Heritage is putting out and Dr. Roberts is putting out right now, Paul Dans and Steve Groves are putting out right now. Well, guess what? That stuff's all authoritarian, theocratic, fascist, Christian nationalism. I might as well just go ahead and put the label at the front. This is a Christian fascist book, okay? All right. But they didn't stop there, folks. And here's another thing that happens every time in this stuff. Anytime there's a minority out there that you can use as a wedge to try to get votes and power, that's what they're doing. Every time this has occurred throughout history, you can see that this has happened. For instance, let me just read it to you first, and then we're going to jump into it. Pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology, sexualization of children, for instance, is not a political Gordian knot. I love this line. Whoever wrote that, Dr. Roberts wrote it, I think, is not a political Gordian knot. There's a pretense to intellectualism here. Is not a political Gordian knot inextricably binding up desperate claims about free speech, property rights, sexual liberation, I should say. Okay, got my tongue twisted around. I want child welfare. And then they say it has no claim to First Amendment protections. So what did they do here? They did the same thing that has worked so well for them for 70 years. Yeah. About 70 years, I guess, maybe more. Let me see, 40, 30, yeah, 60 or 70 years. I don't know if any of you remember, but if you've studied anything about the integration of the military, whenever we had blacks being integrated into the U.S. military in the late 40s, early 50s, there was a huge uproar around the country and in the military ranks even that they didn't want those black people out there because, they could be violent and this is the stuff they used. Violent, and they were into pornography and lasciviousness and all this kind of stuff, and we don't want to be around that kind of stuff. We don't want our women and children around it. Those are the things that were used then, folks, for that case. And then they did it again with the Lavender Scare in the 50s, when there were 20,000 gays and lesbians removed from federal service because, as they were pointed out in Congress and other places, they're into pornography, which is bullshit. They're not. It's just a way of scapegoating a population of people that you are trying to dehumanize so that you can have what you want as a majority. That's what it is. They do it every time. They did it again in the 60s with gays, and they did it again with marriage equality. They did it again with not abortion, but let's see. One word I'm looking for. Adoption. They did it again with adoptions of when gay parents to gay parents want to adopt a child. I mean, everybody was saying, oh, it's because of pornography. We don't want all of our kids around all of that stuff. They're just into this and that and all this. And it's just a bunch of crap, folks. They do that all the time. And primarily, it's just designed to scapegoat another group of people so that those in the majority can maintain their majority or maintain their power, their position of political power. And that's what's going on. But here's the thing about this. It has no claim to First Amendment protections. They lump together right here in this one, pornography, transgender people, sexualization of children, and it's not a political Gordian knot. And they said none of this has First Amendment protections. So what's the next step after that? Well, it's purveyors. They say right here, its purveyors are child predators, which is bullshit, and misogynistic exploiters of women. That's the same argument that's been used since the 50s. And actually, I think it probably went back even further than that, back in the 1880s and 90s, 1880s and 1890s, whenever there was the concern about the Chinamen, coming in here. They're doing all this work, but then when the work was done, they wanted to get rid of them. They invited them in prior because, they needed all the labor out there doing all the work on the railroads. But then they became a problem later on because, they didn't need them anymore. So they made them out to be child predators, misogynistic exploiters of women, and all kinds of crap, and into the drugs and violence. They did it all. They blamed this whole group for that. I mean, it starts back every time, folks, every time. Their product is as addictive as any illicit drug and psychologically destructive as any crime. See, ta-da. Pornography should be outlawed. And what they do above? They equated transgender people with pornography. That's another bullshit statement there, Dr. Roberts. The people who produce it and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders, and telecommunications and technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered. Militancy right here, folks. This is far-right extremist, authoritarian, theocratic, fascist, and Christian nationalism being promoted as conservatism in this country by the Heritage Foundation. And these words are from Dr. Roberts. So let's just go right on down. Another word from the noxious. Now here's another one, okay? The noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should be excised from curricula in every public school in the country. All right, let me just correct this for them, okay? I'm going to make this right, because right now it's just wrong on all kinds of levels. It's intellectual gibberish is what this is. All right, the noxious tenets of, I'm going to make it just as crazy as they are. The noxious tenets of conservatism and fascism should be excised from curricula in every public school in the country. Now, I don't think that it should be, because I think that you have the right to say those things, believe those things, and promote those things. However, playing along with this kind of militancy, the noxious tenets of conservatism and fascism should be excised from curricula in every public school in the country. These theories, and I'm going to continue on with this, these theories poison our children who are being taught, on the one hand, that conservatism is better than anything else you do in life, Anyway. So that was the introduction. I'm looking just for the word transgender or gender, right? So let me see right here. The federal government is growing larger and less constitutionally accountable, even to the president. And what they want to do is exert presidential authority. They want to use what's a unitary executive theory, which means basically that they think the president has the authority to do with the executive branch whatever he wishes to do without any kind of congressional oversight doing it. But they think that he should have that power, which is, what authoritarian, fascist. Exactly. Okay, so a combination of elected, unelected bureaucrats at the Environmental Protection Agency quietly strangles domestic energy production through difficult to understand rulemaking processes. Oh, that's just because you're dumb. Okay. And besides, I kind of think that our environment is worth protecting, and that no amount of money is worth being spent to destroy that climate and the environment that we live in. I mean, really? You think that's true too? I mean, I grew up in Eastern Kentucky and Southern West Virginia, and I happen to know happen to know what those massive mines do on the surface there. The surface mines, stuff like that, it destroys the environment completely. And they have to reshape it, or redo it. Yeah, we needed resources out of there, but let's see if we can let's actually expend resources to actually do something that is not destructive to our environment as much as we can. Okay, let's put the resources in there to kind of figure that out. Don't shut it down. Anyway, Homeland Security, following the lead of a feckless administration, ordered border and immigration enforcement agencies to help migrants criminally enter our country with impunity. And that's just a bunch of crap. That's a dog whistle to a bunch of people who are extremists over on the far, far, far freaking right. Okay. Bureaucrats at the Department of Education inject, here we go. Bureaucrats at the Department of Education inject racist, anti-American, ahistorical propaganda in America's classrooms. Really? All right, Dr. Roberts, you're not that dumb. You're pretty darn smart. I know that. I know that Dr. Roberts is pretty darn smart. And you know that this is a ridiculous statement. Bureaucrats, Department of Justice, force school districts to undermine girls' sports and parental rights or parents' rights to satisfy transgender extremists. No, we just want our people to be treated fairly across the board. We're not asking for more or less, folks. And if that's extremist to you, well, so be it, because everything that's written in here is extremist, far right, terrifyingly frightening. Woke bureaucrats at the Pentagon forced troops to attend training seminars about white privilege. If you don't think there's white privilege, then you have white privilege. I can tell you that right straight up, freaking to your face. If you deny it as a white person, and I'm white, if you didn't know that already, all right, I know that I've got a lot of privilege associated with the fact of who I am and how I got here, okay? I know that. And I'm not talking about financial privilege. I'm not talking about, having lots and lots of money or whatever like that. I'm just talking about privilege, because in this country, then you can think of it like running a sprint. And you've got one group over here running the sprint, and they're all white, and one group over here running, and there are other races and all that over here, the minority populations, including those of us in the transgender community. Well, you've got the same race in front of you. You've got 100 yards to run, okay? A 100-yard dash. Well, this is how you can tell. This is how you can see and kind of visualize what this privilege is all about. All right. This white person runs down through there, and they go over a couple of obstacles, around two rocks in the road, stuff like that. And they just barrel right on through the end. They went through 3 things to get there, and they had to kind of jump through hoops to go through those things. The other group, the minority population over here, has got the same distance to run, but there's 15 obstacles in the way. They've got to navigate through all of them. Yeah, you can get to the end. And yes, many, many, many do get to the end successfully. However, the challenges are tenfold. So, well, fivefold. But anyway, that's the distinction. That's how you can tell. It's not about the money that anyone over here in this one group has or this group doesn't have or whatever. It's not about that, even though that's the obstacles actually create some of that discrepancy that's over there, those social determinants of health that drive down health and health outcomes. Those are real. We've known it for years. Anyway, and bureaucrats at the State Department infuse, let me see right here. Bureaucrats at the State Department infuse foreign policy aid programs with woke extremism about intersectionality and abortion. Oh my God. Intersectionality, oh my gosh. Well, it's real. You can deny it all you freaking want, but it's still real. It still has an impact on the well-being and thriving of people. Period. Anyway, I don't know if there's anything else about gender in this top part. Let me go down through here and see. That's the word I typed in. There were 10 of them. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Scroll on down. Let me go do it like this. Click, 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 click. Yeah, that was the end of it. All right, so we went through the forward right there, folks. Let me just take a pause for a minute and go over and see if we have any comments over on our comment side, because I do talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and wind myself through all of this. And whoever's watching, thank you very much for being here. Drop a comment over there in the side if you want to. We'll talk. So anyway, let's go back to sharing that page, because I want to go look into chapter 1, which would be the next thing that's in the Project 2025. So let me go back over to Project 2025. We're going to share the screen again. Go over here to that and that. Now, this was the forward that we were just in, okay? This is the forward to this thing. Now, here's chapter 1. This is chapter 1. This is about the White House. Now, let's just go through and see if there's anything in here that has to do with gender, for instance. Let's type it in. No words in here with gender in it. Okay, transgender or gender or whatever. Let's look about sex. See if that's in here. No words regarding sex. How about abortion? No. How about what else? Intersectionality? No, diversity. Nothing about diversity in chapter 1. So chapter 1 really has none of the things in it that are targeting us directly. This is about the White House, though. This whole section, this whole chapter is strictly about the White House, written by Rick Dearborn. This is in Project 2025, A Mandate for Leadership. Okay, so let's skip out of chapter 1. Now we're in chapter 2. This is the Executive Office of the President of the United States. Russ Vaught wrote this particular chapter. Okay, so let's go and do the same thing over here. Let's see if gender is mentioned in here. Oh, 7 times. All right. This is the first time gender is actually mentioned. I think this might be on page 60. All right, in this particular section. Finally, the next administration will face a significant challenge in unwinding policies and procedures that are used to advance radical gender, racial, and equity initiatives under the banner of science. Well, that's because they are under the banner of science, folks. And there's nothing radical about it. It's just the truth. If you don't like it, well, you have to get your head out of your behind. And they go on to say, similarly, the Biden administration's climate fanaticism will need a whole of government unwinding. Jeez. Let's just go ahead and destroy the climate and environment, folks. Let's just go ahead and do it, because money's more important, right? Notice my still stare. As with other federal departments and agencies, the Biden administration's leveraging of the federal government's resources to further the woke agenda should be reversed and scrubbed from all policy manuals, guidance documents, agendas, and scientific excellence and innovation should be restored to the Office of Technology, and I forgot what the P stands for, priority as the top priority. Well, look, these things are based on science, and excellent science, and innovation. But yeah, I mean, you want to take it all out because you feel a certain way about it. Grow up. Come on, grow up. Okay, let's go down and look for the next occurrence of this word. Gender Policy Council. Okay, so the president should immediately revoke Executive Order 14020 and every policy, including sub-regulatory guidance documents produced on behalf or related to the establishment or promotion of the Gender Policy Council and its subsidiary issues. Abolishing the Gender Policy Council would eliminate central promotion of abortion for health services. That's what they want to do. They want to try to eliminate all this stuff. Comprehensive sexuality education and the new woke gender ideology. That is just so stupid to say stuff like this, to go after things like this. Leave people alone. I mean, whatever happened to that? Which has gender ideology, which has as its principal tenet gender affirming care and sex change surgeries on minors. Bullshit. It does not. And if you believe that, your head is way up in there where the sun don't shine, folks. In addition to eliminating the council, developing new structures and positions will have the dual effect of demonstrating that promoting life and strengthening the family is a priority, while also facilitating more seamless coordination and consistency across the U.S. government. And their definition of family is not inclusive. I mean, their family definition is one man, one woman, and a child. Okay. They completely ignore the single parents. They completely ignore the gay parents. They completely ignore all of those things. That's not their definition of family. Okay, let's go on down. Let's look again. Okay, that's the Gender Policy Council thing. Gender affirming care. This goes down to the bottom in the next section. And we're back to number 1. All right, so let's take a look for other words in here. Let's go with diversity. Let's see if diversity is in here. No. How about sex? 2 references to sex. That's section. We already read this one. Sexuality, education. And the next one is sex change surgeries. So let's go on and see if there's anything about abortion. How many times is that mentioned in here? 1 time. We already covered it. Promotion of abortion in the Gender Policy Council. So this is how you use this thing. You know, I'm not going to go through and read every darn word of it because I just want to find the sections that are going after the ideas that we, you know, want to look into. So that covers chapter 1 or 2. That covers chapter 2, folks. What do you think about that? That's how you do it. Download these things by chapter. Check them out. You can do all that from that site right there. This one, project2025.org. Go to the policy section and you can download each one of these sections by chapter or section. The note on Project 2025, the forward, I mean, just click on it and it'll go right down. White House, Executive Office, all these. So let's go ahead and take a look. This was, I think, the forward. Okay, so let me get rid of the forward. Let's get rid of, wait, I need to save those somehow or the other. Save. Okay, save. Click. All right, so we got that down. Let's take care of this one. We did over here, and this is chapter 2. And we just talked about this one. And now let's go to the next chapter. This would be chapter 3, Central Personnel Agencies Managing the Bureaucracy. Okay, so chapter 3, here we are, chapter 3. Let's go in and look for abortion. Is it in there? No. Let's go look for sex. Is it in this section? As the one reference to it, that's on page 73. Moreover, managers can be and often are accused of racial or sexual discrimination for a poor rating, and this discourages honesty. No, it encourages you to keep your freaking mouth shut if all you can think of is racial stuff and discrimination based on sex or gender. It kind of, you know, kind of shuts your freaking mouth. And if that's, I mean, sure, and I mean, if it encourages dishonesty, well, the rest of us don't want to hear the bullshit coming out of that, because your honesty about yourself and how you feel about racial issues or sexual discrimination issues, well, that is definitely something that should be shunned, right? Okay, so let's go look for gender in here. Okay. In cases involving race, gender, religion, age, pregnancy, disability, or national origin can be appealed to. This is talking about the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. And also you've got a making appeals process work. All right. So basically they're going to try to shuffle all that stuff around and reduce them because, you know, they don't think that they should be challenged on their discrimination. Truth. That's chapter 3. I don't think there's anything else in chapter 3 that's worth looking into. You can go check it out yourself. Now, this one is the Department of Defense. Now, this one is going to be a totally different story, folks. So here's the first instance of gender. This is, like I said, let me go up here to the top. The Department of Defense, Christopher Miller, Constitution requires, provide for common defense. Okay, so let's go on back down to that first little line right there and scroll through this one. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And this is talking about the Department of Defense, folks. Defense. Restore standards of lethality and excellence. Entrance criteria for military service and specific occupational career field. Well, let me just do it like this. Entrance criteria for military service and specific occupational career fields should be based on the needs of those positions. And they are. Exceptions for individuals who are already predisposed to require medical treatment, for example, HIV positive or suffering from gender dysphoria, should be removed, and those with gender dysphoria should be expelled from military service. Physical fitness requirements should be based on the occupational field without consideration of gender, race, ethnicity, or orientation. Now, a couple of things in here. People go out into the field into combat all the time with all kinds of medicines that they have to take with them. And this is no different. We already know that being HIV positive, you have to take medicines to prevent it and actually keep it from becoming something that can infect somebody else. Gender dysphoria is not contagious. But there are some medicines that you'd have to take. Like, for instance, if I were to go out into the field, I would need to take estrogen with me. And that's the only medicine I would have to have. But even women who are having some issues and stuff like that, they're going to take birth control pills with them, which is the same damn thing. Okay? Preventing pregnancies. They'll take the same stuff with them. Okay? No problems. But yet these two you pick out because, you feel a certain way about them. Should be removed? Really? No, not at all. And those with gender dysphoria should be expelled from military service. I'm sorry, but some of the best leaders in there right now from all ranks, all the way up through, are highly skilled, trained. A lot of money has been poured into their education and their training. And we've got space scientists, and we've got supply officers, and we've got F-18 pilots. All these people. We've got many, many others and enlisted ranks. Let me see. We've got some people who are active duty, who are military police. And let me tell you, you don't want to run into them. But they're doing a great job. And why kick them out? Because, why? Really? No, that's bullshit. Okay. And then the next thing I think is kind of comical, actually. Physical fitness requirements should be based on the occupational field without consideration of gender. And actually sex or gender identity, any of those things, race, ethnicity, or orientation. Now, as to why they put orientation in there when they're so strongly opposed to anything that has to do with sexual orientation already, why even put that in there? They left out the word sexual orientation because, they want to go in and delete that word from the whole of the federal government anyway. So, they're just going to call it orientation, but then still eliminate it. Anyway. Oh my God. Let me go on down. I'm going down. Where's the next one? All right. This is eliminate politicization, reestablish trust and accountability, and restore faith in the force. We have faith in the force. It's the best in the world. There's no one to compare to us. Okay. Very lethal. Everybody knows it. Let's go on down and see what they're talking about, though, when they're talking about gender. All right. Reverse policies that allow transgender individuals to serve in the military. Gender dysphoria is incompatible with the demands of military service, and the use of public monies for transgender surgeries or to facilitate abortion for service members should be ended. This is blatant discrimination. These people are doing the job they were hired to do and doing it well. And having gender dysphoria is not a disqualification for service. Period. This is just asinine, stupid stuff right there. But anyway, 6, and that's the end of it for gender. So let's end it right there for a moment, and we're going to go take a look at some of the new stuff. Are you ready? So I simply covered some of the Project 2025 stuff. Let's see if there's anything in the news that I can go ahead and pontificate about. The infamous 5 congressmen to be booted from the House. Huh? The infamous 5 congressmen to be booted from the House. Okay. Who are we talking about? Obviously, I know about George Santos. Yeah. Okay. Majority were during the Civil War. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Understand. Let's go on down. Judge blames January 6th on big lies, warns U.S. faces threat of authoritarianism. And the judge is right. Heritage Foundation is the proof. Dr. Roberts is the proof. And the 80 organizations that so far have signed on to this with them are the proof. Let's go on back. Georgia School Board fires teacher for reading book on gender identity to 5th graders. By the time they're in the 5th grade, they know what their gender is and their gender identity and how they express it. You can look at that little picture in the background right back there. You can see how they're expressing their gender. They're doing it. They have a gender identity. Every single person on this planet has a gender identity. and they express their gender in certain ways. And then to talk about this as something to talk about with fifth graders is perfectly fine, because they do have a gender too, folks. They have an anatomical sex and they have a biological sex, or genetic sex is what I prefer to actually call it. It's genetic sex and anatomical sex, but they also have a gender. For most people, 99.5% of the entire planet, those two are the same or closely aligned. Let's put it that way. But there is a percentage of every population throughout time where those two do not align. And that's why you need to have these conversations too, because you've got to be able to address people where they are. And you've got to be able to approach them from a way that's actually intellectually and scientifically based. And what's going on with this school board firing that teacher is just complete bullshit. Anyway, go on. Ends in disaster. Ukraine launches attack on Moscow. I don't know about that one. I'm not going there. Got other things start. Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Texas take $1.45 billion plus each from UA aid, which others have benefited. UA aid. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Okay. Especially from U.S. military and allies. $27 billion was distributed among the states in the form of investments. The administration announced these funds were expended by the White House. Pennsylvania has been the largest beneficiary among the states, receiving $2.4 billion to produce weapons and ammunition. Okay, got it. It's a weapons and ammunition production project. Right. Okay. And let's go on back. Over here, GOP lawmakers introduced first bill to alter Ohio's legal marijuana law 1 week before it takes effect. You know, you've got the people who have spoken in Ohio about legalizing marijuana and protecting the right to abortion in the Constitution. But yet you've got these Republican knuckleheads over there who are going after those same things to try to restrict it in some way. The people spoke. If you don't agree with the majority of the people in that state, then you have no business being in an elected position in the state. You should give up. You should walk away, because you just don't represent the people anymore. You represent an ideological decision that you have made because you disagree with something. But the people have spoken. So what about that representative democracy? If you're not going to represent the interest of the people, then you have no business representing the people. Okay? Flat out, the way it works. Don't like it? Go find some other job to do. We don't need you. Okay, Supreme Court wades into term's second major fight against the administrative state. Yeah, I know all this stuff's going to. Eyes are open. Mary Trump calls out MAGA Mike Johnson for alleged Russian ties. Well, okay. Whites only group. This group sign sparks outrage in British Columbia town. British Columbia must have tech. No squad votes on Israel's right to exist. Condemning Hamas, reveal division in far left group. Okay, go on down. Is Christianity stuck? Yeah. Ohio Supreme Court dismisses challenge to state House and Senate maps. Anyway, those are the headlines of the news recapped for you slightly there. So let's just go on over and take a look here. We have two people, two comments. Where are we? We have okay, so yeah, my friend Junior Childers says this, the nuclear family of the Brady Bunch has a gay father. You're right that stuff is a bunch of bunk taking away people's freedom. Surely doesn't sound like a party with freedoms for all. No, it does not. You're right. You're right, Junior. And then she also says, I was so affected in the Navy, I was named AOE, which means area of effect. I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So let's go take a look at Twitter space. You ready? Twitterverse. And catch up over there because I've been nailing people earlier today. I want to see what they actually have to say now as we close out our noon session. Okay, let's go present and share screen. I'm going to go to Windows. Oh, wait, Chrome tab up there. Share. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I had responded to this person, Nathan Hill, and that's a pseudonym for somebody. The name comes from someone back in the Revolutionary War. Okay. But this person, Nathan Hill, I mean, Nathan, if you're watching over on any of our shows, you know that we're live. Let me see. All right. I'd commented on something. Let me just go see what they're talking about here. And let me go down through here and put this one. And let me see if there's any comment to that. Okay. Mature and intelligent enough to know that men can't turn themselves into women and women can't turn themselves into men, and intersex isn't part of the conversation because obviously none of you are intelligent or mature enough to like playing pretend too much. Normal people stop playing pretend as children, but do try harder. Just one more excuse for us to laugh at you. This person is just a schoolhouse bully. That's really all he is. They are. I don't know who they are. But anyway, let me just click on this one. I liked your post where you were mentioned in. Okay. I've decided to go full throttle window looker. Here is my response to their weaponized autism. Enjoy. Okay. Well, I pissed them off. I called them immature for going after people. And they replied to me with that one. Good. Okay. Erasing women isn't puberty. It's misogyny. Women aren't going to cede our womanhood to narcissistic, entitled men, and moms are going to protect their daughters. Of course they are. Yeah, sure, fine, no problem. And no one cares about you or what you drivel you have to say. We care even less about your feelings. And I responded to that one too. And then Daniel said something, and video isn't evidence proof. Okay, anyway, enough of that. I'm trying to poke people to get them to respond, but this person, by the way, doesn't have a big following. I'm not going to waste my time with much of it. I told them that if they would grow up and mature a little bit, and quit acting like a child, bullying other people, then I might consider a civil conversation with them. In the meantime, told them to have a good day. I go poke the bear, but so far no one responds. No one responds except for Nathan Hill, and I knew that they would respond to start out with. Anyway, so let's wrap it up for the day, everyone. I hope you had a good morning so far, and I hope that you have a great afternoon as well. And we do come back at 6 p.m. Eastern time to do the evening show. We'll talk more about some of the chapters over there in the Project 2025's Mandate for Leadership, and then we'll go on from there. So with that, let me just call it a day, folks.